All right, today our group will be presenting our supermarket sales analysis, which examines transaction data from a supermarket company in Myanmar that operates across three branches in Alex, Cairo, and Giza. The data set comes from Kaggle and contains retail transactions from January through March of 2019. It includes variables such as branch, city, customer type, gender, product line, sales, payment method, gross income, rating, and time of purchase. This makes it a strong data set for identifying patterns that can support management decisions in marketing, operations, customer service, and supply chain planning. Our goal was not just to describe the data, but turn it into actionable business intelligence. Using Tableau, we created 6 visual analyses to help answer key management questions. How do sales change over time? Which product lines perform the best? What customer groups drive revenue? How does satisfaction vary? And when are the stores busiest? Together, these visuals give a more complete picture of supermarket performance. The first analysis looks at sales per week by branch. This time series visualization showed that all three branches experienced high week-to-week volatility, and though the trend lines were slightly upward, the report found that the p-values were above 0.5, meaning the trends were not statistically significant. In other words, sales over this 3-month period do not follow a simple, steady growth pattern. We observed a noticeable decline across all three branches during the early weeks of February, which suggests a seasonal dip rather than a branch-specific issue. Cairo stood out the most because it reached the highest peak of 12,185 in February 24th, but then dropped to 4,830 in the week of March 17th, a swing of 7,355. That level of volatility creates risk for forecasting, inventory planning, and staffing. Based on this, management should avoid overreacting to short-term fluctuations and instead use more cautious forecasting models backed by larger time horizons and stronger statistical evidence. The report also recommends caution in stocking the Cairo branch, since it appears to be the most unstable location. Our second analysis focused on sales by product type with respect to gender. This chart showed that food and beverages and sports and travel were the top performing categories, each generating over $55,000 in sales, while health and beauty was the weakest category, producing under $50,000. Even though there were differences, the spread between the highest and lowest categories was only about $6,000. So overall, category performance was still relatively balanced. One of the most important takeaways was that in 5 of the 6 product lines, female customers generated more sales than male customers. The one exception was health and beauty, where men slightly outspent women. This suggests that female customers are the primary revenue drivers across most of the supermarket's offerings. From a business standpoint, this means the supermarket should prioritize female-oriented promotions and product placement in most categories, while rethinking its strategy in health and beauty. Since that category is underperforming, management should tailor promotions more effectively towards the male customer base and investigate why women may be buying these products elsewhere.
For our third analysis, we created a scatter plot that shows the relationship between customer ratings and the total sales value of each transaction. Each point on the chart represents a single purchase from the supermarket dataset. The horizontal axis shows the customer rating, which ranges from about 4 to 10. The vertical axis shows the total sales amount, which ranges from about $10 to a little over $1,000. We also included a trend line which shows the general direction of the data. This chart helps us to see if customers who spend more money tend to give higher ratings, and it also helps us spot patterns in customer purchases. We chose this analysis because scatter plots are useful for showing relationships between two variables. Our earlier charts focused on sales trends and product categories. This chart focuses more on customer behavior, so specifically we want to see if spending more money leads to higher customer satisfaction. This is important because it can help management understand whether higher spending customers are actually happier or if satisfaction depends on other factors like product quality or service. The scatter plot shows us a few important insights. First, there is no clear relationship between how much a customer spends and the rating that they give. Customers who spend a lot sometimes give average ratings, while smaller purchases can still receive high ratings. Second, most transactions fall between about $50 and $400. This means most purchases at the supermarket are small to medium sized. Third, there are few transactions above $900, which are much larger than the rest. These could be bulk purchases or customers buying many items at once. Finally, most ratings fall between 6 and 9, which suggests that customer satisfaction is generally positive overall. These results gives management a few useful insights. Since higher spending does not always lead to higher ratings, the supermarket should focus on improving the overall shopping experience for all customers. This could include improving customer service, product availability, and checkout speed. Since most purchases fall between $50 and $400, marketing promotion could target the spending range to encourage customers to buy a little bit more each time. Finally, management should look more closely at the very large purchases to understand what drives them. If certain products or promotions are causing these large purchases, the supermarket could use similar strategies to increase sales.
Okay, for the fourth analysis, this chart looks at like the total sales by hour of the day. So from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., which when the business operates, it looks at the total sales per each hour of the day. And each bar represents how much money was made during that hour. And basically, you can see the difference in the level of sales between each hour. So this chart basically analyzes this because we want to know like what time of day customers are shopping. It's important to know like customer behavior in regards to the time of which when they shop, and knowing when they show up is really as important as knowing what they buy. And this also helps management make smarter decisions about things, such as like how much staff to schedule at a certain amount of time when it's more busier versus like a less busy time, and when to restock the shelves as well. And based on this chart, we can tell that the busiest hour is 7 p.m., which brings in around 39,700 in sales. And this is about $5,000 more than any other hour, which makes it like a clear outlier in terms that is the highest amount of sales in that hour, which means it's the most busy. And there's also a smaller spike at 1 p.m., but that kind of lines up with like a typical lunch break shopping pattern. So we can identify like two busy periods, midday and the evening. And between 4 and 5 p.m. sales kind of like slow down noticeably. And there's kind of like a quiet period between like these two different outliers and peaks. And the slowest hour is 8 p.m., where sales kind of drop off sharply right before closing. And using this chart and this analysis, we can the store can also make sure that there's enough staff working during the 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. peaks, so that when there's a higher customer rush, there's more staff to accommodate this higher amount of rush. The customer not left waiting, because being understaffed is during the busiest hours can hurt both the sales and also customer satisfaction. And also the slow period between 4 to 5 p.m. is a perfect time to like kind of restock the shelves. Since it's not as like busy, you can use some of the staff and allocate them to like restocking the shelves and making sure the when the 7 p.m. peak comes, like products can be more efficiently like allocated. And yeah, these actually be scheduled during the slow period. And also management should also look into why sales drop like sharply at 8 p.m. and like they should make like the certain decisions that will affect like the sales and decide whether staying open later could also bring in more revenue, or if customers simply stop coming after that hour.
The fifth analysis discusses average customer rating by product line and gender. The bar chart demonstrates the average customer satisfaction rating for each of the six product categories segmented by gender. While chart 2 identifies where the money is from in terms of total revenue, what this chart does instead is that it identifies where brand loyalty is actually being built through high-quality customer experiences. The reason why we chose this analysis is because we wanted to switch our focus from a revenue analysis to a customer satisfaction analysis of the supermarket's offerings. Understanding the meeting point of gender and satisfaction is essential for a manager because it can help them determine if the store's environment and product selection are meeting the expectations of their main demographic, which is gender. Doing so helps distinguish between categories that are simply high volume and those that are high quality. What we found is that food and beverages is definitely one of the strongest departments that's leading in both total revenue and average rating, with females giving the highest rating. There's a serious gap in the sports and travel department. While it is a strong revenue generator, it holds some of the lowest satisfaction ratings from female customers at 6.73. This gap suggests that there is a clear disconnect between transaction success and the actual customer experience for female shoppers. The satisfaction for females in home and lifestyle at 6.69 is the lowest when comparing it to other categories. This shows that the supermarket hasn't been able to capture nor meet the expectations of female shoppers in that particular segment. So what can we do with this intelligence? The supermarket can begin taking action on the sports and travel gap, considering that it is a high revenue category with low female satisfaction. Management should investigate the root cause that can often be due to poor product variety, lack of staff assistance, or bad store layout in order to prevent losing loyal customers to competitors. The supermarket can use the high ratings in food and beverages as a strategy method for improving staff engagement and layout optimization in departments currently receiving lower ratings. Instead of mainly focusing on transactional volume, the supermarket should also invest on specialized customer service training for workers who specifically remain at the home and lifestyle department. By providing proactive and great assistance, it can help narrow the current satisfaction gap while also encouraging recurring visits from female demographic.
Our next visual is a side-by-side bar chart comparing total sales between member and normal customers across all 6 product lines: electronic accessories, fashion accessories, food and beverages, health and beauty, home and lifestyle, and sports and travel. We chose this chart because while our previous visuals examine gender, time trends, and customer satisfaction, none of them address customer loyalty as a revenue driver. From a management perspective, understanding whether a loyalty program is actually influencing purchasing behavior is critical. It determines how resources should be allocated, where promotions should be directed, and whether the membership program is delivering a return on investment. The finding is consistent and clear across the board. Members outsell normal customers in every single product line. This is not isolated to 1 or 2 categories. It's true to all of them, which tells management that the loyalty programming is functioning as intended, and it has a broad influence over the customer spending behavior. The biggest gap is in food and beverages. Members generated $34,822 compared to $21,322 from normal customers, which is a difference over $13,000. This tells management that loyalty members are treating the supermarket as their primary destination for everyday essential purchases. From a supply chain perspective, this is valuable because it suggests member purchasing in this category is more predictable and recurring, which makes demand forecasting more reliable. Food and beverages is also significant because it is the top revenue generating category overall. The fact that it leads in both total sales and member dominance tells management to double down here, which offers, where they should offer member exclusive bundle deals, personalized promotions, stocking prioritization. This would probably yield strong returns. Health and beauty is different. It already has the lowest total sales of any category at just under $50,000, and normal customers contribute only $18,000, the lowest normal customer contribution across all of the product lines. This is a consistent red flag that has appeared across charts 2, 4, and 5. Manage cannot ignore a pattern that shows up repeatedly across multiple types of analysis. The fact that non-loyal customers are barely engaging with health and beauty suggests that this category is failing to attract first-time or casual shoppers, which is exactly the demographic that should be driving these purchases. Looking at electronics accessories and fashion accessories, the gap between member and normal sales is the most balanced of all 6 categories. This suggests that these product lines have broader general appeal that extends beyond just loyal customers. Management can leverage this by using these categories as entry points, attracting new customers through promotions in these sections, and then introducing them to the membership program once they're in the store. The overall management takeaway from this chart is straightforward. The loyalty program is working, but it is not reaching enough people. Normal customers are a significant untapped revenue opportunity. Converting even a little bit of a percentage of normal customers into members would have a huge impact on revenue across every single product line. Management should implement targeted conversion strategies such as first purchase discounts, in-store membership signups, loyalty programs, etc. This would help close the spending gap between these 2 customer segments.